Last week, a customer showed me a video. Some bloke spraying bug spray on his headlights, calling it a genius hack. And I'm watching this thinking, mate, you just took 3 years off those lenses. Look, I've been fixing cars for over 20 years. I've seen every shortcut, every miracle fix, every kit that promises the world. And I can tell you exactly which ones work, which ones waste your money, and which ones actually make things worse. But here's the thing nobody's telling you properly. The restoration itself, that's the easy part. It's what you do after that decides whether this lasts 2 months or 5 years. And almost everyone gets that bit wrong. You know what I see all the time? Someone pulls up and says, Frank, it doesn't look that bad, it's just a bit yellow. And yeah, from 10 feet away, it's easy to shrug off. But those cloudy lenses aren't just a looks problem. When they get properly worn out, the light output can drop to around 20% of what a new headlight puts out. AAA had a test on that back in 2018, and it matches what I see in the shop. You think you've got headlights, but you're basically driving with 2 tired candles. And here's the bit people don't like hearing. About half of crashes happen at night. So headlight performance isn't some optional nice to have. It's a safety thing for you and everyone coming the other way. Now, can you restore them? Often, yes. A good restoration can bring you back to something like 70% of original output. That's a big improvement. But if you want true, like new, replacement is usually the only honest way to get back to 100%. The trap is the quick miracle fix. It makes them look better fast, but it doesn't bring the light back properly, and it rarely lasts. So before you spray anything on your headlights, you need to understand what's actually failing on that lens. That's what we'll cover next. You know how some headlights go kind of milky, then yellow, then they just look tired all the time? That's not dirt. And it's not because you didn't wash the car enough. Most headlights these days are plastic, polycarbonate. They've been that way since the 80s. It's loads stronger than glass, it's lighter, and you can shape it into those sleek modern lenses. Only downside is, sunlight really doesn't play nice with it. From the factory, there's a very thin UV protective hard coat on the outside. Think of it like a clear sunscreen layer. It's tiny, microns thin, but it does the job for a few years. Once that coating starts to fail, usually somewhere around the 3 to 5 year mark depending on sun and weather, the plastic underneath oxidizes fast. And oxidation here just means UV light breaks down the surface, makes it rough with tiny cracks you can't really see, and then your light scatters instead of shining clean. That haze shows up and the chemical change adds that yellow tint. Here's the good news. Most of that damage is on the outside surface, so it's usually fixable, right up until someone hits it with the wrong shortcut and chews up what's left of that coating. Funny thing too, my dad's old Escort back in Birmingham had glass headlights. Those things lasted forever. First time I saw these plastic ones go yellow over here, I honestly thought someone had spilled tea on them. I see this all the time. Someone rolls in and says, Frank, I cleaned my headlights last weekend. They looked mint for a bit. And then 2 rains later, they're right back where they started. Let's talk about the big 4 hacks people keep trying. Bug spray, the DEET stuff. Yeah, it can make a lens look clear fast. That's because it's a solvent. It can soften the plastic and strip whatever UV protection is left. So it looks great for days, maybe a couple weeks. Then the sun hits it, it rains, and it comes back worse. Sometimes the lens gets brittle and starts cracking. That's basically you speeding up the replacement clock. WD-40 is another one. It doesn't remove the cloudy layer. It just leaves an oily film, so it looks better for a short while. Then it attracts dirt, there's no UV protection, and the damage keeps going underneath. Toothpaste, baking soda, vinegar, same story. They can polish a little, but they're not a full process. Usually you get a month or 2, then it fades again because nothing's protected. And the magic eraser? That's basically tiny sandpaper. People use it dry, uneven, and they end up scarring the lens. Bottom line, if your fix doesn't end with real UV protection, it's not really a fix, it's just a countdown. Be honest with me in the comments. What have you tried? Bug spray, WD-40, toothpaste? No judgment. I've seen all of them come through the shop. Most people walk up to the headlight, see it's a bit yellow, and just grab whatever's on the shelf. I'd rather you take 10 seconds and figure out what you're dealing with, because the method depends on the damage. First check, run your fingertips across the lens. If it feels rough, like fine sandpaper, that's usually oxidation on the outside. That's the good news, outside is fixable. If it's yellow or brown but it smooths up after a proper wash, again, usually outside. But if it still looks milky after cleaning and it feels smooth, you might be fighting something going on inside the unit, and polishing the outside won't perform miracles. If it's just starting to go dull, don't overdo it. Clean it well, use a light polish, and the real win is catching it early so you don't have to sand. For that common daily driver yellowing, a proper kit with sanding steps, Sylvania, 3M, Mothers, whatever, is usually money well spent. You're not cleaning, you're removing the dead layer evenly. If it's heavy, wet sanding is the honest route. Moderate stuff, 800 or 1000, then 1500, 2000, 3000. Really neglected, 600, 800, 1500, 3000, sometimes even 500 to start. Keep it wet, keep it soaked, and sand in a crosshatch pattern. Learned that the hard way doing rally prep. Skip it once and you'll get waves in the lens that haunt you every time the lights come on. And whatever method you use, how long it lasts comes down to one step most people skip: UV protection. That's next. Here's the bit most people skip, and it's why they swear headlight restoration never lasts. You sand and polish, it looks lovely, and then a month or two later, it's yellow again. That's not bad luck. When you remove the cloudy layer, you also remove whatever UV protection was left. Now it's bare plastic and the sun just cooks it. So you've got to finish with some kind of UV protection, and how long it lasts depends on what you choose. A simple wax or paint sealant can help, but think short term, maybe a season, maybe up to a year if you keep up with it. Those little wipe-on sealers that come in kits usually go 6 to 12 months, but they fail if you miss a spot or it flashes off mid-wipe. Spray UV coatings can go 1 to 3 years if you apply them clean and even. A 2K clear coat, 2-part, gets you closest to factory durability, often 3 to 5 years when it's done right. And if you want the fit it and forget it option, PPF film can go 5 to 7 years, and it takes stone chips better too. And I'll be straight with you, restoring headlights without UV protection isn't a fix. It's just starting the countdown again. Here's the bit nobody wants to hear. Sometimes those headlights aren't restorable, they're just done. If you've got water pooling inside the housing, that's a seal problem. You can sand and polish the outside till your arms fall off, but the moisture damage is happening on the inside where you can't reach it. Same deal if you've got cracks in the lens or the housing. Sanding can actually make those cracks spread, and then you're chasing your tail. Another one I see all the time is that foggy look that comes back a week later. That's usually condensation or internal haze, not surface oxidation. And if the inside of the lens is burned, hazed, or full of debris, you can't sand the inside clean. You're just spending hours for a tiny improvement. Quick money reality check. If you buy a $25 kit 3 times because it keeps coming back, you've burned $75. At that point, a decent aftermarket headlight assembly starts to make sense. Had a bloke last Tuesday, nice guy, 3rd time in 6 months with the same Camry. He'd spent more on kits than a decent set of housings would have cost. Felt bad telling him, but it was the honest call. Most people I see are stuck between 2 extremes. They either buy the cheapest kit and hope for the best, or they assume the only answer is brand new headlights. Truth is, you've got a few sensible lanes, and it mostly comes down to how bad the lenses are and how much time you want to spend. If your lights are that typical daily driver yellow, nothing cracked, just dull, a decent DIY kit is usually 20 to 30 bucks. Do the steps properly and you'll get a solid improvement for the money. If you're thinking, I never want to do this again, the best bang for buck is wet sanding and a 2K clear coat. Figure 40 to 60 in materials. It's more work, but it tends to last if your prep is tidy. If you don't want to learn sanding, a proper pro restoration is often $100 to $150 for the pair. You're paying for consistency more than anything. And replacement? Aftermarket assemblies can land around $150 to $400 installed. OEM can get ugly fast. $500 to $2,000 isn't rare on newer LED or adaptive units. Quick cheat sheet. Light haze, protect it now. Moderate, kit, and don't skip UV protection. Heavy, sand properly and finish with 2K or PPF. Water inside, cracks or internal haze, stop sanding and price up replacements.